Audible Frontiers presents Kings of the Dead, written by Tony Faville, narrated by Mark Vitor.
May 15th, 2009. My name is Cole Hellman, and while I've gone by many nicknames in the past, Doc Hardball and Chef, just to name a few, these days my friends have given me a new nickname. I am Zombie Hunter Cole. Looking back on things, I never thought it would happen to me. It's funny, I always thought I would be writing that in one of those tacky penthouse forum letters. You know the stories, they always start out, I went to check the mail, and next thing I know, I was in bed getting it on with the mail lady, the MILF next door, and a couple of cheerleaders. Now, I am not saying that anything like that situation ever happened to me, but I can almost guarantee you it never happened to the other people that wrote those letters either. No, what I never thought would happen wound up being exactly what happened about 10 weeks ago. The dead started to walk. It actually started almost a year ago with the swine flu pandemic. The damn virus just kept mutating to the point that it started to kill with rampant wholesale. And then those it killed started to get up and kill. Before we knew it, it was like one of those shampoo commercials. I'll tell 4 people, and they'll tell 4 people, and on and on. Only in this reality, you change the tell to kill. It took months for things to get to that stage, though, and to be honest with you, I can tell you exactly when it started happening. It was when they started giving the vaccinations. It was the shots. The damn shots triggered the final stage of the viral mutation, the one that caused people to die, only to reanimate shortly after death. Look, all I'm saying is that I have not met anyone since it all started that actually received the shot. Every single person I knew that got the vaccine is dead. Every one of those people got back up after dying, and some of them I had to put down. Maybe I need to back up a little bit here to let you know a little about my history. In the early 1980s, I saw a movie late one night that changed my life. Dawn of the Dead, by the zombie master himself, George A. Romero. Since that evening, I've watched every single zombie movie I could get my hands on. I read every book, comic book, or journal, and listened to every podcast, etc. It was never a situation of hoping it was real, or even dreaming about a zombie rising. No, it was nothing more than the fact that I just really dug the entire concept of the zombie genre. It was the what-if scenario that really got to me. What if the dead rose? What if zombies were real? What if the world went to shit? I started preparing for this to happen several years ago. At first it was just stockpiling some food, water, weapons, first aid, miscellaneous supplies, and eventually, if not most importantly, people. I was never looking to build an army around me. I simply wanted to spend my time with people that were of like minds, people with skill sets that would be necessary in a PAW, or post-apocalyptic world. Construction, medicine, farming, shooting, tactical operators, mechanics, people like that. Now, don't get me wrong. It's like I mentioned before. We never thought zombies were really going to get back up and start doing the hokey-pokey. That was just the stuff we used to make what we were doing more interesting. I look back at when I first started working with my wife to get her prepared for a concealed weapons permit. She had a difficult time dealing with the idea of training to shoot someone. It was only after I turned the training into more of a zombie preparation concept that she really started to get into the training. At first, we were making these preparations based on the potential of natural and social disasters, earthquakes, floods, fires, anarchy, whatever you can envision. I would not consider any of us to be survivalists, at least not in the media's stereotypical definition of the word. We are good people, family people, relatively normal people that are or were willing to do whatever it takes to survive. Our biggest failure, if you will, is that our earthquake never came. Zombies sure as hell did, though. Before it all started, we had our designated bug-out location, or ball. It is a nice, quiet, wooded area with fresh running water and far away from the big cities. That location is exactly where we have been for the past 8 weeks. Before things got totally crazy in the city, we held a meeting and made the decision that it was time to go. Within days, we had loaded up our stuff and got the hell out of town. Now, didn't I say the dead started to rise 10 weeks ago? And did I not just say we headed out 8 weeks ago? Yeah, I did. We did not wait around to see how the government would handle the situation. We had made our preparations and wanted to get out of there before those who had nothing to prepare decided to help themselves to what we had collected. The time for preparation is not when a ghoul is gnawing on your throat or pulling your entrails from a hand-torn gash in your abdomen. No, the time for preparation is before that happens. We could see the signs. We knew what was coming. If we were wrong and the government had been able to hold the line against the walking dead, then we would all be taking a nice long camping trip and looking for jobs when we came back out of the woods. The thing is, though, we were not wrong. Things got worse, daily. People used to laugh at us because we were a bunch of zombie geeks, fanboys, survival nuts, gun freaks. You name it, at some point in time, some clown that thought he was better than us had us labeled as such. These days we have a new label, one that we wear with pride. We are the kings of the dead, and we will survive. May 16th, 2009. Let me take a moment to talk about these undead, zombie-like creatures. Hey, you know what? I am here, I am living it, and I think I will call them whatever in the hell I want to call them. Zombies. There, I did it. I called them zombies. Now then, what did the movies teach us about zombies? I quote, "They are the walking dead brought back to life by radioactive space dust. The fact that hell ran out of vacancies, space aliens, voodoo priests, and various other sundry choices. They eat the flesh of the living, whether it is brains, arms, necks, intestines, you name it. They either shamble or haul ass, depending on who is telling the story. In almost every zombie movie I ever watched, you must destroy the brain or do enough damage to their body in order to ultimately destroy them. If we take the zombies from the Return of the Living Dead series of movies, they speak, they move quickly, use radios, costumes, and tools, and destroy every damn thing in their path. In all stories, a bite from one of the infected will take out one of the living. I've even seen some stories where a simple scratch from one would be enough to infect a person. Now, I can hear you now. A scratch? Yes, a scratch. Think about it for a moment. What happens to the skin when you get a bad enough scratch? That's right, you bleed. Now, what if the individual that is scratching you is a dead, decaying, reeking bone bag? When he scratches you, there is a very good chance that 1 or 2 of his own fingernails will be pulled off during the scratch. Did you ever rip off a fingernail? What happened, other than it hurt like hell? That's right again. It bled. What happens when you combine 2 liquids? They mix, and in this case, infected blood mixes with non-infected blood. Does the infected blood become non-infected blood? No, it sure as hell does not. The non-infected blood becomes infected. Are you beginning to understand how a scratch could infect you? Good. Let's move along. So what do I know about these zombies? Our zombies were caused by the H1N1 vaccine. That has to be what did it. Okay, sure, I'm not a scientist, and I don't know that for sure, but it is all I have to go on, and I'm holding on tight to the idea. Some of the guys have even joked around a bit and called it the H1Z1 virus. Obviously, the Z is for zombie. That's cool, whatever it takes to keep them going. Oh, my zombies? Yeah, they don't run. Let me just say a couple of things about this fact. Number 1, thank God. Number 2, this is actually to be expected. When a person dies, the body starts to break down immediately, and things like tendons lose their elasticity and muscles stop working. Since these creatures are obviously dying before they turn, the natural order of things has not changed and will not change. I don't care what the bug is in their head that is making them get up and move. They are still dead. They are not going to run or be able to do anything more complex than a simple grab at a potential food source. I have seen handfuls of them attempting to run since this all started, and every time I have seen the same results. It's typically the Achilles tendon that fails first, then the knees, and then the hamstring. You may have the mother of all viruses in your brain making you do all sorts of crazy shit, but without a complete set of working wheels beneath you, you're not walking anywhere, let alone running with all the tenacity of a decathlete. Back to my zombies. They eat flesh. They seem to resort to the most primal instincts of survival and go for the most vulnerable spots to feed by doing everything in their power to get a bite into any part of you they can. One of the things I learned in the multitude of self-defense courses I have taken over the years is that you have to be prepared for every fight to wind up on the ground. Even when dealing with humans, you take a chance on getting bit or scratched. Do you really want to get into a ground fight with a creature that only bites or scratches? Trust me on this. The best defense is a good offense. If the opportunity to shoot one of these things from a distance is presented to you, take it. Never let a zombie get within striking distance of you. If a zombie gets closer than 10 feet to me, then I have screwed up and let him get too close to me. If you let one get that close to you, don't do like you have seen them do in the movies and start punching them. Please, for God's sake, don't start punching them. Were you ever in a fight and punched someone in the mouth? If you had, the chances are you would completely understand why I am telling you not to punch them in the face. Zombies have teeth in their mouth. That is what makes them so dangerous. You punch them in the mouth, you risk their teeth penetrating through their own lips and into your knuckles. Trust me, I've seen this happen in bar fights between two drunk and stupid but otherwise healthy human beings. If you have to resort to close combat with a zombie, take out their legs. Seriously, sweep the leg, Daniel-san. They can already barely stand up of their own volition. What do you think they will do if you kick them in the side of the knee with your size 11 combat boots? They will fall down. And once they are down, take that size 11 boot one more time and stomp their head until you hit pavement. One of the last things I want to do is to have to put someone down because they thought punching a zombie in the face was a good idea. Don't get me wrong. It may be one of the last things I want to do, but I sure as hell will do it. Taking them down. Well, as we all know, a headshot works quite effectively. I have seen a few go down where I was truly unable to discern if it was due to a successful headshot. With that being said, I'm not going to waste any ammo with body shots on the off chance it will work this time. We have one guy with the Kings by the name of Gabe. Gabe is a bit of a Renaissance man, much like myself. Former military, and since the Navy he has bounced, sometimes quite literally. He was a bouncer for years. Around doing this, that, and the other job. The guy is wicked with this Nordic axe he keeps strapped around his chest and hanging from his back. I have seen him cleave a zombie practically from the top of its head to its waist. Honestly, without the proper sanitation, or at least a good shave and a haircut, Gabe is looking more and more like a Viking every day. I guess it was all those years in the SCA that got him into that frame of mind. Anyway, that is what I know about our zombies to date. They shamble, they eat the flesh of the living, and they die. If you get bit or scratched, vaya con Dios, amigo. We will miss you when you are gone. In a world where the dead walk the earth, you have to have separation of emotions. There will be time for mourning someday. For now, though, you do what you have to do. The creature walking toward you with its flesh falling from its bones, blood, vomit, and other bodily fluids covering it from head to toe, is no longer Uncle Ed or Grandma Edna. They are a pox on humanity, and they must be eliminated. End of story. Before I close out this entry, I want to explain myself to whoever is reading this. And yeah, for the record, I am hoping that it is a book publisher reading this, because we won back our world and my journal is getting ready to go on the New York Times bestseller list. Yeah, right, like that will ever happen. Most likely you are some poor schlub who was lucky enough to have outlasted me, and you have found my gear and decided to read it before you either ate it or burned it. If that is the case, then that is why I am writing this. I want you to learn from my successes and my failures. Inevitably, we all make mistakes. If you are able to glean even one gem of knowledge out of this that helps you survive one more day, then hot damn, I have succeeded. So please, bear with me as I use this tool to maintain my sanity. Learn about me, my friends, our mutual enemy, and how to survive. Who knows? Maybe someday someone will use it to look back and figure out a way to keep it from ever happening again. May 17th, 2009. Zombie extermination. That's what we call killing, and to steal a line from many movies, killing is our business, and business is good. Okay, just to be fair, in the past 8 weeks we have not seen more than a couple thousand zombies. Like I said, we got out of the big cities early. The fact remains, however, that we have seen that many in our travels into smaller towns, and frankly, that worries me. If we are 60 miles out of downtown and still seeing that many, then what the hell do the cities look like? Last I can recall, there was something like 2 million plus people living in the Portland metropolitan area. Do the math, and that is a lot of damn zombies. Because of that, we have fortified our encampment with walls, trenches, fighting positions, and kill zones. Hell, we have so many outward-facing spikes that if anyone were still flying around up there, we would look like some kind of sea urchin from the air. One of the nice things about the kill zones we have created is that they are narrow enough to prevent any kind of surge attack and afford us the opportunity to take our time and get that important headshot on one zombie at a time. With 4 such kill zones around the camp, technically we would only need 4 defenders in the event of a mass attack. So far, the most we have seen at the camp at any one time numbered less than a dozen. With that few in numbers, I would have to assume they were people trying to get out of town themselves, only they left a little too late. Our weapons are what you would typically expect to see. A handful of AR-15s, a few AK-47s, shotguns, SKS rifles, a lot of Ruger 10-22s, and of course a bunch of high-capacity handguns, 9mm, 45 ACP being predominant. There are a few specialty guns as well, like my Smith & Wesson Model 66 357 Magnum double-action revolver. I always liked this gun as it was the exact same revolver my uncle had when he was a police officer, and now this one never leaves my hip. There is no room for discussion of caliber these days. Nobody is touting one over the other, much like the AR versus AK debate. The debate is done. Either round, the 5.56 AR or the 7.62 by 39 AK, will both punch through a rotted zombie skull as easily as through a watermelon. Yes, the AK round will punch through a helmet and the skull, but they are both effective weapons for killing the undead. Allow me to go back to what I was talking about earlier in regards to what happens to a human body when it dies, with emphasis on the fact that its flesh starts to decay. Obviously, the same thing starts to happen to its bones. They begin to decalcify, the marrow dries, and the bones become lighter and weaker, and not as resilient as they once were. This goes for the skull as well. What that means for us is that the venerable .22 long rifle round, in a solid form, has become one hell of a potent close-range zombie killer. That hot little round only needs to penetrate into the cranial cavity, and then it's free to ricochet around in there, scrambling the gray matter. Remember when Reagan was shot by Hinckley? He was shot with a .22 long rifle round fired from a pistol. The round found a way through the rib cage and then bounced around inside his chest, fortunately missing the heart. The same thing happens with a zombie. I have to admit, it is interesting to watch a zombie take a headshot and see his reaction before enough damage is done and it hits the ground. Sure, we have greater potential need for a follow-up shot, but since we have 10 times as many rounds of .22 as we do anything else, it really is a moot point. For now, most of us are sticking to the .22 for our everyday zombie killing and saving our bigger caliber stuff for a real shit-hitting-the-fan situation, or for the pending human factor. I'll talk about the human factor in my next entry, time permitting. Other than firearms, blades have been working quite well. Tomahawks, small shovels, and machetes for the most part. Like they say, the nice thing about a blade is they never need reloading. What they do need, though, is more physical strength than most people realize, and they do jam. Obviously, they don't jam in the same sense of the word as a firearm, but unless you get a clean cut all the way through, you will have a jam on your hands. I saw a kid go down a couple weeks past because his QVC shopping channel katana got stuck in a zombie's skull. He tried getting it out of the skull as other zombies were closing in on him, but he couldn't. He had used all of his strength just getting the killing blow, let alone having anything left for any other zombies in the immediate area. Unfortunately, he was already bitten before we were able to take out the zombies surrounding him. Situation with a longsword is this. Even a master swordsman who spends his entire life practicing his art will grow tired long before he runs out of necks to sever. How well do you think someone who bought their sword off of eBay in the event of the apocalypse will do? 1, 2, 3 strikes, and you are out. I have one blade that I use as a backup weapon, a World War II U.S. Navy Hospital Corpsman bolo. Big, thick, heavy, and if I didn't know better, I would swear it was made for killing zombies. One of my old master chiefs told me a tale of a Japanese soldier being taken out by one of these knives, cleaved from the left side of the neck all the way through the body to the right hip. I used to think it was nothing more than an old sea story, until the day I did it to a zombie. It was like a hot knife slicing through butter. Oh yeah, that old hunk of steel is on my left hip at all times these days. Truthfully, there is no big science to killing zombies. Aim for the head, do massive damage, and take them down. Forget military tactics. These are like no guerrilla or insurgent forces anyone has ever faced. They are not fighting for land or religion, nor do they feel pain or suffer from hot or cold. They exist simply to eat and to propagate their virus, adding to their numbers. You simply need to kill them before they kill you. That is where the government made their mistakes. In case you did not hear how things went down, our military tried fighting them like they fight anyone else. And they got their asses handed to them in cities all across the nation. Look, an M1 Abrams tank may be one hell of a killing machine, but as mentioned previously, the human factor took hold. Friendly fire took out almost as many of the military as the zombies did. There is nothing worse in the middle of a firefight than to all of a sudden no longer be able to tell the difference between friend and foe. A soldier panics, and who wouldn't panic seeing their squad mates being eaten, and fires wildly into a crowd of what he believes to be zombies. It happens. No matter how well trained or prepared you are, shit happens. I remember just a few weeks back when we caught some radio traffic from the closest military checkpoint. Sounds of intense battle were interspersed with commands, screams, and cries for help. We sat there and listened to it for about 15 minutes before I reached over and turned the knob to static. There is nothing we could have done to help. Even if we had been able to make it out of here and to their location, it would have been too little, too late.